So our next topic will be to shrink that investing universe and still keep the smaller companies, which you can't do with the copying of others, would be to use a screener tool. And for those that don't know how that works, is there are amazing companies that give you a tool where you can choose out of over 1,000 different metrics which ones to use to filter down those 100,000 stocks. So you can say, I only want to look at stocks in America. I want to only look at companies that are over a certain size. I want to only look at companies that have a certain amount of growth or a certain amount of liquidity. So choosing the right things for a screener can whittle down the list to ones that you would be interested in. You could even choose to only show companies in a certain sector. So there's quite a lot of different choices. And if you want to maybe discuss some of the sites that you've used before for screener tools.
I usually use a couple of websites like finviz.com. This is one of my favorites. And the other one is investing.com. I used free and pro version as well. I start with the finviz.com. So it's a free website where you can just add so much different options in order to filter the companies based on the PE ratio, growth ratio, debt to equity ratio, and all others. And I usually go and look for fundamentals. So we, as value investors, do not try to time the market. So we do not look at most technical stuff and all this trading stuff. Day trading or monthly trading, so it doesn't matter. And usually I go and look for companies with great growth and with high return on assets, high return on equity, and high return on invested capital. But we all just here for educational purposes, and this is not a financial advice. So these are objective, more subjective things which we use in our value investing. So what do you think about, Nick? What are the filters or maybe particular differences?
So everybody does it differently. And this is just for educational and entertainment purposes. But the ones that I like to put in as a good starting point to whittle down, and then I might add extra screeners to get it further down. But the ones that I always feel are a good match for my style of investing, because we're just trying to choose wonderful companies that are going to treat us good and treat the world good and grow nicely. So I choose only companies that are based in the USA, who are on USA stock exchanges. I like there to be a certain amount of liquidity, so you can check the volume of the stock that's being traded per day. I like to just see that it's moving, and if I wanted to get out of the stock, I can. Where you set that bar is very subjective, so I'm not even going to give you guys a subjective one. I like to see low debt, and what I mean by that is like you look at the amount of debt and the amount of free cash flow. And this is the way I do it. There's other ways of doing it. And so I want to divide the one by the other to get the amount of years of free cash flow that it would take to pay off the debt if they wanted to. Because I'm such a fan of Phil Town, he says 3 years. Over that, he doesn't really want to be interested in the company. So under 3 years of free cash flow to pay off the debt is a healthy amount. There's a famous quote that when the tide goes out, you get to see who is swimming without their bathing suit. And that applies very much in this case. A company with too much debt in a tough situation, for example, a recession or perhaps a major pandemic, the company might not be able to refinance. They might be in a bit of a situation and then they can't pay off their debt and they go bankrupt. You do not want to be in that situation where the company you own goes bankrupt. And so protection is making sure the debt is low. So free cash flow to debt ratio is something that I would look at. I would look at growth rates, how healthy the company is, and is it going to do what you want it to do? The ones that I look at is equity growth as the most important of the growth rates. The EPS growth is the second most important. The sales growth or gross profit, same thing. The cash flow growth is also an important one. So there's 4 growth rates there. And then probably the most important number of all of the numbers I look at would be the return on invested capital, or ROIC. That's something you really need to make sure is good. Where you determine how much growth rate, that is again up to you. But I like to see high growth rate in all of those. So I might even put them on 20% for each of those to make sure that I'm getting really good growth rates on the equity, EPS, etc. That filters it down a lot. Not a lot of companies have sustained growth rates that high. But if they're an established company with low debt and they have those high growth rates, they're worth looking at. And let me emphasize, these screener tools aren't going to tell you which companies to buy. They're going to whittle out the ones you shouldn't even look at. And the remaining ones are the ones you should investigate, run them through a big checklist of questions, make sure you're buying what you want to buy. And we'll talk about these different checklists and things you need to use. It's not a lot of work for what it is, really, but it is essential if you want to have a high degree of certainty that your risk is low and all that kind of thing. So these are just ways of shrinking the list. It's not the way of telling you which company to buy, just getting it down to a manageable amount to investigate. What are your thoughts, Eugene?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I also look at those numbers as you described previously, but I just look on them kind of differently. So, for example, you take free cash flow for 3 years in order to repay all the debt, all long-term debt, as you said. I look on the balance sheet, and I usually take current assets, and I usually compare them with the total liabilities of the company. So for me, besides the growth and all these metrics of return of the capital and different stuff, I really need to understand that the company has enough cash to pay off the debt, and it has enough assets to pay off all its liabilities. So, for example, if the company has, I don't know, maybe 200 million on as a current assets, and this can be 100 million in cash and 100 million in different investments, and it has long-term debt of 100 billion, this company is automatically pass for me, because I think that debt to equity ratio and all these ratios are way high. And I also agree with you about the growth rates. And the way I look at that, I do not use Excel spreadsheets for calculating all this stuff. I usually take 20-25% growth rate both for revenue and net income. And the way I do is that I use the 72 rule, which is if you have 26% growth rate, you can double your money in 3 years. So basically, we look at the company's numbers and we can see that in 3 years, the revenues of this particular company and net income can just double. And if I cannot see these statistics, I also usually do not go further. Of course, it depends on the company because we can use different metrics and different approaches. And this is really great about value investing and analyzing all this stuff. But for me, these are just the key points where you can start, as you previously said.
So I got two more points on this before we can move on. Is the first point is I thought of another filter that I like to use, and I thought I'd share it. It's called the Altman Z score, and what it does is when you choose it on the filter, you can choose what score are you happy with, and you can just Google the Altman Z score in Google, and you'll see that effectively this guy calculated a really complex mathematical thing using all of the different data about a stock. And effectively, what it does is it predicts really accurately the likelihood of your stock or of that company going bankrupt. And it's not as simple as what I said about the free cash flow, but you got to use both. But what the Altman Z score does is if the score is, and they've done a huge amount of testing and it's just held up. So, massive universities have just run it against all the companies that have gone bankrupt, and 80% of the time, the Altman Z score is low. So you do not want to buy a company with a low Altman Z score. That would be gambling. and gambling with very bad odds. So that's a good indicator. And there's other things you can do. There's ways you can filter for zombie companies, and there's all sorts of fancy things, value traps. But we'll get into that in later episodes. What I wanted to mention now, just to close off what I have to say, is Eugene mentioned in this episode and the previous one the rule of 72. And so I thought I'd talk about that just for a second, because without knowing what he's talking about, you might be a little bit blank. Effectively, you can Google it and it'll explain it in more detail. But how it works is it's a wonderful little mathematical trick that helps you to determine how long it will take to double your money or double any number. But doubling your money is the best way to use it. Is you take 72 and you divide it by your interest rate, and the result is the approximate amount of years it will take to double your money at that interest rate. You can also use it the other way around and take 72, you divide it by the amount of years you'd like to double your money, and it tells you the interest rate you need to achieve. What's wonderful about this trick is you don't need a calculator. You can just do rough math in your head a lot of the time. You'll get a close enough answer, even if you're just being really rough about it. At the end of the day, investing isn't a super to the decimal point type of thing. You can tell really rapidly if you're in the ballpark of what you're looking for or not. And we'll go into that later with margin of safety and valuations. Ballpark is what we're after. Because the future is unpredictable. The further out into the future you go, the more unpredictable it is. But we like to at least know that we're in the ballpark of safety, and so we crunch the numbers and we see what we get. We'll walk into that later with numbers. But that's the rule of 72. Highly suggest you get good at it, and then that's what I have to say on that.
As you can see from this episode and our previous episodes, we do not try to time the market, and we do not look for overcomplicated stuff, and we try to make things as simple as possible. So we look for no-brainer decisions. If you need to ask question about the business or whether it is a great opportunity for you or not, this will probably be the best for you, because you may probably not the professional in this business, or maybe you have some doubts with that. So for me, I usually use this trick for myself. When you understand that this is a really good investment for you and for other person, you probably would not ask any questions. You just go and put your money into this stock, understanding that this is the great opportunity which we not always have in our life. So try to think and do some simple math in your head, going away from all this overcomplicating stuff. Little by little, if you have enough patience and enough knowledge, which you expend for so long, you will become better and better in that. This is the end of this episode, guys. We will continue next time. And if you have any questions, please write them down in the comments below. And see you next episode.